Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today's class is a beginner flow and stretch that will help introduce the very basics of a yoga practice. Our movements and poses will be broken down individually, setting up a base for your yoga journey. So we will begin in a pose called child's pose, bringing the knees mat distance apart, big toes to touch. We'll press the sit bones back towards the heels as we walk the fingertips to the top of the mat, bringing the forehead down towards the earth. So this pose is a very relaxing pose. It opens the hips, elongates the spine while relieving tension caused by daily movement. So at any point in our class, if we feel overwhelmed, please come down to this pose and just find your breath and come back to center. So we are going to start to focus on our breath, beginning to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, allowing all distracting thoughts to disappear and bringing yourself to be here and present on our mat during our practice. So just know that for the next hour, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go besides here on our mat. So try to push those distracting thoughts out and give yourself this opportunity to be here and to be present. And just allow yourself to let go of any ego, any judgment during yourself in this practice. Just accept where we are, accept that we're learning, and just honor your body with our movements. And we'll just begin to inhale very deeply in through the nose and exhale throughout the nose. Just focusing on those inhales and exhales. And just a little reminder here that if any of the poses that we do today cause pain, please come out of the pose and maybe just find this child's pose until we move into our next pose. There's no shame in just coming here and finding our breath. Just really listen to your body. Listen to what it tells you when you become a little uncomfortable. And just know we don't want to feel any pinching, any pulling. We will feel a little discomfort in our poses, but again, please, if we do feel any pain, come out of the pose. We do not want to injure ourselves today. So for this pose, for this practice, all you'll need is your mat. So we're going to take 5 more deep belly breaths here. Just really beginning to ground down into our mat, welcoming ourselves to our space. And from here, we're going to begin to tent the fingertips onto the mat. So pressing the palms off of the mat, just pressing into the fingertips. So we'll feel this stretch move down towards the back and into the shoulders. And we'll find a few breaths here, just beginning to find a little subtle movement to start our practice. And we'll release. So bringing the forehead up, we'll look towards the right side of our mat. And as we exhale, walk the hands over towards the right side, sinking the left armpit down, coming into a side bend in our child's pose. So forehead comes down to the mat and we'll find our breath. Breathing into that left side, maybe feeling the space between the ribs opening up here in this stretch. Inhale, look up, walk the hands back to center, and exhale, walk the hands over to the left side. So taking that side bend to the other side, sinking that right armpit down towards the earth, the forehead comes down to the mat. Finding our breath. And we'll take one last inhale. And exhale. We're going to come back to center, begin to walk the hands towards the body, bringing the knees in together. We're going to tuck the toes underneath the heels, maybe reach around, make sure that that pinky toe is tucked under, and we're coming into a toe stretch. So option to stay here with the hands planted onto the mat if this is intense enough. But if we wanted to go a little deeper and we have the space in our body, we could begin to walk the hands to the thighs. Shoulders are down and away from the ears, nice flat spine. And if we can, we could bring the hands to heart center. So again, we have those three options. We're going to be here for at least 8 breaths. So please find a variation of this pose where you can find a little relaxation and stillness. So this is an intense stretch for the feet. We typically forget to use our feet and stretch out our feet. So this is perfect way to show our feet a little love. We are on our feet a lot during the day, so stretching out the feet and the toes are very, very important. And with our next exhale, we'll release, bring the hands back onto the mat. We'll untuck the toes and just let them float in the air for a few breaths before tapping them onto the mat to release and feel all the sensations running through. And from here, we're going to swing the feet around, just coming to a pose called Sukhasana, which is also called easy seated pose. So just crossing the legs, we're going to roll the shoulders up and down 3 times in one direction. And then we'll switch directions, rolling them forward and down. From here, we're going to bring the left hand out to the left side of our mat. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And exhale, drop the right ear to the right shoulder, finding a neck stretch here. Option to walk that left hand back and forth, just finding the sweet spot to the stretch and holding here. So we're stretching through the left side of the neck. We're grounded down throughout the sit bones, and with our next exhale, we'll release, come back to center. Bring the right hand out to the right side of our mat. We're going to inhale, lengthen, and exhale, drop the left ear to the left shoulder. Again, we can move that right hand back and forth, just noticing how it changes that stretch and holding when we find our sweet spot. One more deep belly breath in, inhaling, and exhale to release. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up, and as we exhale, drop the right hand down to the right side and sweep that left arm up and over towards the right side. So we're bringing a nice side body bend here. So this is our seated side bend. We can bring the gaze down to the mat. We could have the gaze centered or up towards that extended hand. But in this pose, we want to make sure that that left sit bone is not popping off the mat. We want to keep it grounded. So if we do notice is lifting, just come out of the stretch just a little bit so we stay grounded. We're opening the chest and really reaching the left fingertips over. We're going to inhale back to center and exhale, twist. So bring that right hand to the left thigh and the left hand behind us as a kickstand. We're going to inhale here, looking towards the left. And as we exhale, just twist a little deeper, bringing your gaze behind the left shoulder. So this pose is great for detoxifying the body from the inside out. So we're almost wringing out our organs like a dishcloth, just getting all those toxins, all those impurities out. So we're going to come back to center, and we're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, slowly walk the hands forward, coming into an easy fold. So our spine is nice and long, and we're allowing the head to fall heavy. Just feeling a nice little stretch here throughout the hips. Remember to focus on your breath. And just breathe and relax. And we'll slowly walk the hands back towards the body. So from here in our easy seated pose, whatever foot is in front, we want to bring it behind. So just switching the position of the feet, and we're going to show that love to the other side. So inhale the arms up nice and high. Exhale, drop left hand to left side and sweep the right hand up and over for that seated side bend. So remember, just keeping that right glute planted to the mat. We're opening the chest and reaching the right fingertips over to the left side. Feeling that nice opening between the ribs, stretching throughout the intercostal muscles. Inhale back to center, stretching the hands up towards the sky. And exhale, twist to the right. Left hand comes to the right thigh, and the right hand comes behind us. We'll inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, twist a little deeper, bringing the gaze behind the right shoulder. So again, we just want to keep our spine nice and tall here. We're lifted. The crown of the head is reaching for the sky. We're initiating this twist from the core. Inhale and exhale to release. Come back to center. Hands to the knees. We'll inhale, lengthen the spine nice and high. Reach the crown of the head up. And exhale slowly, walking the hands forward into that easy seated fold. Allowing the head to fall heavy. And finding a few relaxing breaths here. Taking one last breath. And we'll walk the hands back towards the body. So from here, we're going to really link breath with movement. So one breath in will move and one breath out will move. So as we inhale, we're sweeping the hands up overhead, reaching towards the sky, tipping the chin up towards the sky. As we exhale, we're going to bend the elbows, squeezing the shoulder blades behind and coming down for cactus arms. Inhale, extend the fingertips up high. And exhale, squeezing the shoulder blades, bending the elbows. We'll do this one more time. Inhale up. And exhale to squeeze, bending the elbows down. We're going to inhale the fingertips up. Exhale, bring the hands together and down to heart center. And from here, we're going to move into tabletop position. So rolling up over the knees, we're going to line up the shoulders with the wrists, and our hips are over the knees. Our back is nice and flat, and we're reaching the crown of the head forward, warming up the spine. As we inhale, we're going to dip the belly down, lifting the chest and the chin towards the sky. And exhale, press into the fingertips, round through the spine, gaze to the knees. We're going to inhale for cow pose and exhale back for cat pose. We'll do this 3 more times. Inhale, shining the chest and the chin forward. And exhale, round to the back, gaze to the knees, pressing into the fingertips. Inhale for cow. And exhale, press back, cat. One last round here. Inhaling, shining the chest forward, lifting the chin, dropping the belly. And exhale, round through the spine, press into the fingertips, gaze to the knees. And we'll come back to tabletop and just sway out the hips, releasing those poses. So from here, from our tabletop, we're going to inhale, extend that right leg back, flexing the toes towards the mat. So you do have the option to stay here, Or we could come into full bird dog and reach the left fingertips towards the top. So we're really squeezing the core here, trying to find our balance, pressing into that right hand, into that left knee, and finding our breath. Really reaching back to that right heel, reaching in front with those left fingertips. And exhale to release, swaying the hips back and forth. So we're going to show that same love to the opposite side. Whatever we do to one side of the body in yoga, we always do to the other. So inhale, extend the left leg back, flex the toes towards the face. Again, we have the option to just stay here with the leg extended, or we could bring the right fingertips up and reach them to the top of the mat. So we're bringing the core and we're tightening the core and bringing the navel to the spine. So it will help keep us stable and sturdy here in this pose, bird dog. We'll find just one more deep inhale here. And exhale to release, tabletop pose. From here, bringing the knees mat distance apart, big toes to touch. We're going to press our hips back and find that child's pose, forehead to the mat. But instead of reaching the fingertips up, we're going to wrap them around the body, just finding a nice release throughout the shoulders here. And we'll just find 2 grounding breaths. So it's always important to focus on that breath. If we do lose that focus, it's just about reminding ourselves to come back to those inhales and exhales. And from here, we're going to come back into our tabletop pose. And from our tabletop, we're going to tuck the toes and press back into downward dog. So our downward dog is an upside down V. We're really pressing into the fingertips, elongating the spine from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. And we're trying to press the heels down to the mat. But if our legs are feeling tight, please remember to keep a generous bend into the knees. We can walk the feet, bending the knee in one way and the other, swaying the hips, just really awakening our body here. So we're actively pressing into those fingertips to press the hips to the back of the room. The gaze could be to the feet, between the knees, wherever feels comfortable for your neck. So we're going to inhale, lift the heels up, and exhale, press down. Inhale, lifting the heels up, and exhale, press them down towards the earth. Inhale the heels up, and exhale to press down. So downward dog is our active resting pose, so we can always come here if we need a little break as well. So we're inhaling, floating that right leg up nice and high for 3-legged dog. And exhale, step that right foot between the hands and drop the left knee for our low lunge. So we want our right knee squaring over the ankle. We're working the left hip forward, right hip back. And we can keep the hands planted to either side of that right foot. But if we wanted to challenge ourselves just a little bit, we could bring our hands to the thigh, heart center, or extend the fingertips towards the sky. So if our fingertips are extending towards the sky, we want to drop the shoulders down and away from the ears, making room for the neck. We're lifting up and out of the hips, tucking the tailbone. Our core is nice and strong here, and we're feeling that opening throughout the hips. So from here, we're just going to find our breath, just feeling the effects of this pose. And when we're ready, we'll inhale, exhale, plant the hands, frame that foot. And as we inhale again, we're going to straighten out the right leg. So option to keep the right foot planted onto the mat with a micro bend into the knee if we are tight in the hamstrings. Our hands are still on either side of our foot. And if we did want to go deeper, if we have the space in our body, we can roll onto the heel, flexing the toes towards the face. We're going to inhale, pull forward, and exhale, drop the knee or the nose towards the knee. And we'll find a few deep, beautiful breaths here, stretching out the back of that right leg, that hamstring, beginning to create length within the muscle. So coming up, we're going to inhale back for our low lunge, planting the left hand to the inside of our right foot. As we inhale, we're going to sweep that right hand up towards the sky, twisting towards the right. So we're opening the chest here, reaching the right fingertips towards the sky. We're trying to get the right thumb in line with the nose. Remembering to keep a bend into that right knee, and we're still squaring the right knee over the right ankle. Still working left hip forward, right hip back here. And with our exhale, we're going to drop that right hand onto the mat, fire up the left leg, and step back into our downward facing dog. Just walking out our legs here, releasing those poses. So we're going to do that exact same sequence on the other side. So inhale, float that left leg up nice and high in our three-legged dog. And exhale, step that left foot between the hands, dropping the right knee for our low lunge. So again, just take that moment for alignment, noticing where the body is in this pose. We want our left knee over left ankle. We want to work that right hip back, left hip forward, and we can have our options here, keeping the hands tented on either side of that left foot. We could bring the hands to the thighs, heart center, or extend the fingertips towards the sky. So again, when our fingertips extend towards the sky, we want to drop the shoulders down so we're making space for the neck. Our core is nice and tight, tucking the tailbone. Just finding our breath. This is our low lunge. Inhaling and exhale, frame that left foot, planting the hands to the mat. And with our next exhale, we'll straighten out the left leg. Option to keep the foot planted onto the mat with a micro bend into the knee if we do feel tight in the back of that left leg. But if we do have a little space here to play with, we could roll onto the heel of the left foot, flexing the toes towards the face. We'll inhale, pull ourselves forward with a flat back. And as we exhale, we're dropping the nose towards the left knee and folding in our half split. So this pose is really great for people with tight hamstrings and tight legs. So we are beginning to create that length within the back of our leg. And we're going to inhale, come back for our low lunge, planting the right hand on the inside of our left foot. We're going to inhale, open our chest towards the left, sweeping the left fingertips towards the sky. So we're opening here. We're trying to get that left thumb in line with our nose. Just finding a subtle twist here in our low lunge. We'll find a few deep breaths, remembering to keep that left knee squared over the left ankle and work that right hip forward, left hip back. Inhaling. We'll exhale, frame that left foot, fire up that back leg, and step back into our downward facing dog. Taking a moment here to pedal out the legs and just release those poses. We're going to inhale, look to the top of our mat between the hands and begin to walk the feet up to the top of the mat. So we're going to find a fold here. So taking a deep bend into the knee, we're just allowing the belly to rest on the thighs. We can grab opposite elbows, finding our ragdoll pose here. Swing side to side, releasing the hips, nodding the head yes, shaking the head no to release the back of the neck. And we'll release here, bringing the hands towards the mat. We're going to inhale for a half lift. So bring the hands to the thighs and elongate the spine, lifting up halfway. Exhale, fold. We'll inhale back to that half lift, flat back. So nice strong core. We're reaching the crown of the head forward. And exhale to fold. We're going to inhale, root and rise, rolling up the length of the mat, coming to a standing position at the top of our mat. So this pose is called Tadasana. As a very grounding pose, we want to feel all four corners of the feet rooted to our mat. We're staying active here, so lifting the kneecaps, engaging the thighs, the core is nice and tight, hands to heart center. And we're going to begin here to flow through sun salutations, which is a series of poses performed in a sequence to create a flow of movement, creating heat and distributing energy throughout the body. So we will start with our sun A and go through a modified flow of our sun salutation A, or also known as Surya Namaskara A. So we'll take one more breath here, inhaling in our Tadasana and exhaling. So we're going to inhale the hands up overhead, gaze looks up. And as we exhale, we're going to begin to hinge at the hips, nice flat back, and fold forward. Hands come towards the earth. We're going to inhale up for that half lift, flat back. Hands are to the shins or the knees. And exhale, fold. We're planting the hands. We're going to step back into our plank and lower down onto the knees. So we're pulling the body forward, tucking the tailbone. And with our exhale, we're lowering down nice and slow. Elbows hug the ribs, lowering down onto the belly, untucking the toes. Keeping the hands where they are, we're going to inhale. Use the back to lift the chest for our baby cobra. There's no weight into the hands. Exhale the forehead down. We're going to inhale, squeeze the back, lift the chest for that baby cobra. And exhale the forehead down. Inhale up for our baby cobra. And exhale the forehead down. We're going to press back to our tabletop, tuck the toes, and exhale back for our downward facing dog. So that is our modified flow through sun salutation A. And the next one I will do the full version, but just sticking with that modification if that is where we are. So we're going to begin to walk the hands back to the top of our mat in our fold. We're going to inhale for a half lift and exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up, gaze looks up. And exhale, hands to heart center. So we're going to go through another round. So inhaling the hands up, gaze looks up. And we'll exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. We're going to inhale up for that halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, fold, planting the hands onto the mat. We're going to step back into our plank. Option to drop to the knees, or we're going to inhale, pull forward, and exhale, lower down onto the belly. Untucking the toes, we're going to inhale up for cobra this time. So extending the arms, straightening out, and lowering down. Exhale. We'll inhale up for cobra, extending the arms, lifting the chest and the gaze, and exhale down. Last round, we're going to inhale up for that cobra, and exhale down. We're going to tuck the toes, press back into that tabletop, and exhale, downward facing dog. Walking out our dog. And we're going to go through one more round of our sun A. This time, instead of our cobra, moving into up dog. So it's the last variation of our sun A. So remember, please listen to your body and do what feels best for your practice. So we're going to inhale to look to the hands. Exhale, walk the feet towards the hands in our fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, planting the hands. We're going to inhale the arms up overhead, sweeping them up towards the sky. And exhale, hands to heart center. Last round here. Inhaling the hands up, gaze looks up, and exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. We'll inhale for a half lift, flat back, and exhale, fold. Planting the hands, we're going to step back into that plank. Inhale, forward, and exhale, lower from the toes or the knees, chaturanga. So this time, lowering halfway. Inhale, flipping the toes. We're going to press up into our upward facing dog. So our thighs, our hips are off of the mat. Remembering we have the option for our baby cobra. And with our exhale, we're pressing back into our downward facing dog. And just taking a moment here to pedal out the legs, remembering to press into the fingertips, pushing the hips to the back of the room, elongating the spine here in our downward facing dog. We're going to inhale, walk the feet forward into our fold. We'll inhale for a half lift, flat back, and exhale to fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up, gaze looks up, and exhale, hands to heart center. So we're coming into sun salutation B. So it's just a few more breaths, a few more movements here. And sun B just builds on sun A. So we will just add a few more poses to our sequence. So just taking a moment to ground down. We're going to take our feet and either have them together or hip distance apart, whatever feels most comfortable for you in the body. We're going to inhale the hands up nice and high, and as we exhale, we're going to bend in the knees and sit the bum back for chair pose. So coming into that position, just like you're about to sit your bum back in a chair. We want our hips back and our weight is in the heels. So we should be able to lift all 10 toes off of the mat. We're lifting the chest, lifting the gaze, and keeping that core nice and tight. And as we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips and forward fold. And just take a moment to release that chair pose. So sway the hips back and forth. We'll inhale for that half lift, flat back. And exhale, fold, planting the hands onto the mat. We'll step back into our plank. We'll inhale, pull forward. And as we exhale, lowering chaturanga from the toes or the knees, hugging the elbows to the ribs. We'll inhale for cobra or up dog. And we'll exhale, press back into our downward facing dog. With our next inhale, float the right leg up nice and high. And exhale, bring that foot between the hands. We're going to drop the left foot on a 45-degree angle. So the left toes point towards the left corner of the mat. As we inhale, we're going to come up for our warrior one. So in our warrior one, there's a deep bend into that right knee. The right knee is squaring over the ankle. We're squaring the hips and the chest forward and reaching the fingertips up nice and high, dropping the shoulders away from the ears, making space for the neck. That back leg is nice and strong. We'll take one more deep inhale. And as we exhale, frame that right foot, step back into our plank. We'll inhale, pull forward, and exhale for our chaturanga from the toes or the knees. We'll inhale up for a cobra or an up dog, and exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Bringing that to the other side, we'll inhale, left leg up nice and high, and exhale, plant that left foot between the hands. We'll drop the right foot on that 45-degree angle so the right toes point towards the right corner of the mat, and we'll inhale up for our warrior one. Again, remember, square the hips and the chest towards the top of the mat. There's the left knee is over the left ankle, and reach the fingertips up nice and high, keeping the core engaged and tucking the tailbone. So everything is active and engaged here. Shoulders are down and away from the ears, and we'll just find a few breaths here. We'll take one inhale and exhale, frame that foot, step back into our plank. Option to stay in our downward dog or flow through a vinyasa. So that's pulling forward into our plank and chaturanga from the toes or the knees. Inhale for up dog and exhale, press back, downward facing dog. And remember, just take a few moments for alignment here, pressing into the fingertips, pushing the hips back. We're going to begin to walk the feet to the top of the mat. We'll inhale for a half lift and exhale to fold. We're going to inhale, bend the knees, and sit it back in that chair pose. So fingertips reach for the sky. We're sitting the bum back and the weight is in the heels. We want our heart over the hips. And we're going to come back up to Tadasana in our mountain pose with an exhale. So we are going to go through that 2 more times just to get used to the movements and used to the flow. So inhale, hands up, and exhale, sit the bum back, chair pose. Again, just lifting the chest, the weight is in the heels. We're keeping the core nice and tight. The shoulders are down and away from the ears. We'll inhale and exhale, fold. Inhale for a half lift, flat back, and exhale, fold. Plant the hands, step back into our plank, and flow through. So dropping to the knees if we need, and we'll lower chaturanga, hugging the elbows to the ribs. Inhale up for cobra. Exhale, tuck the toes, press back, downward facing dog. Coming into our warrior one, we'll inhale that right leg up nice and high. Exhale, plant it between the hands, dropping that left foot on a 45. We'll inhale up for our warrior one, squaring the hips, squaring the chest, shoulders are down and away from the ears. Right knee over right ankle. That left leg is nice and strong. We're going to inhale here. And with our next exhale, we're going to frame that right foot, step it back into our plank with the option to go right into downward dog. If not, we'll flow through. Chaturanga on an exhale and inhale up for up dog or cobra. We'll exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up nice and high. Exhale, plant it between the hands, dropping that right foot on a 45. We'll inhale up for our warrior one. Left knee over left ankle, shoulders are down and away from the ears, actively reaching the fingertips to the sky. Hips and chest are squaring to the top short edge of our mat, and we're keeping our core nice and tight. Inhale, exhale, frame that left foot, step it back into our downward dog, and flow through chaturanga. Inhale for up dog or cobra, and exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Really pressing into the fingertips to elongate the spine, really pressing the hips to the back of the room, remembering to keep a generous bend into the knees here if we are feeling tight in our hamstrings. Take one more cleansing breath here. Inhale through the nose and exhale, sigh it out. We'll look to the top of the mat, option to walk or jump into our forward fold. We'll inhale up for a half lift and exhale to fold. Inhale, reaching the arms up, bending throughout the knees and sitting back into chair pose. Again, the weight is in the heels, sitting our bum back, pretending there's an imaginary chair behind us. And with our next inhale, we'll release, coming into Tadasana. So we're going to find a little standing sequence here. We're going to inhale, bend that right knee, and exhale, step it back to the back of our mat. The outside of our right foot is parallel with the short edge of our mat. The right arch of our foot is lining up with the heel of our left foot. And we're going to take a bend into that left knee, extend the arms out to a capital T for our warrior two. We're squeezing the shoulder blades together in the back, so our arms are very active here. The left knee is squaring over the left ankle, and our shoulders are in line with the hips, so we're not leaning forward. We're tucking the tailbone, keeping our core nice and tight here, and our gaze is over the front hand. So we'll find a few breaths here in our nice strong warrior. We're keeping that right leg nice and strong in the back. And with an inhale, we're going to sweep that left arm up and over the body for our reverse warrior. That right hand comes just nice and grazing that back leg nice and softly. There's still that deep bend into the left knee. Our gaze is looking up at the left arm. So just a nice stretch throughout the front body here in this reverse warrior. We're going to inhale, come back to our warrior two. Exhale, lean forward, dropping the left elbow to the left thigh and sweep the right arm up and over for our extended side angle. So for these three poses, we don't move the lower half of the body. We still have that deep bend into the left knee, and we're just moving our upper body in this flow. So finding our breath, we're stretching through that right side body here. We're going to inhale, come back for our warrior two. And as we exhale, straighten out that left foot and point the toes in the same direction as the right. So they're pointing towards the long edge of our mat. We're going to bring our hands to our hips. Take a nice deep inhale, reach the crown of the head towards the sky. And as we exhale, we're hinging at the hips and folding over in a wide angle forward fold. So we're trying to get the crown of the head to reach towards the mat. Our hands can come between the feet, or we could even walk them behind the feet a little bit to go a little deeper in this pose. We're trying to get our hips in line with the heels and a nice flat back. So just stretching throughout the back body here. We're going to bring our hands to the hips, inhale for a half lift, flat back, and exhale up to standing. So from this standing pose, we're going to turn the right toes to the back of our mat and take that warrior sequence on the other side. So again, our right heel is in line with the arch of our left foot, and we're taking a deep bend into that right knee. So the right knee is squaring over the ankle, the shoulders are squaring over the hips. We're extending the arms out nice and strong, making a capital T, squeezing the shoulder blades in the back, and we'll bring our gaze over the right fingertips. Our core is nice and tight, tucking the tailbone, keeping the legs nice and strong here. And just holding here, finding a few breaths. This is warrior two. With our next inhale, we're sweeping that right arm up and over, opening the chest for our reverse warrior. That left hand just grazes the straightened left leg. And again, we're opening throughout the chest. Our gaze could come up to the floating hand above us. Finding our breath. We'll inhale and exhale, come back to warrior two. We're going to inhale, lean forward, exhale, drop that right elbow to the right thigh and sweep the left arm up and over for our extended side angle. So feeling that nice deep stretch throughout the left side body, remembering to keep that deep bend in our front knee. Our legs did not move from our warrior two position. And with our next inhale, we'll come back to warrior two, windmill the arms down, frame that foot, and chaturanga, stepping back into our plank. Inhale for up dog or cobra, and exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Walking out our dog here, just releasing those poses, taking a moment here to find our breath. And when we're ready, we're going to come down onto the knees, cross the ankles, and sit back onto our bum. We're going to do a core strengthening pose here. We have a few options. We can keep the feet planted and just lean back a little bit, reaching the fingertips forward. Our second option is just to keep the big toes grazing the mat. Third option is to have the knees bent. And our fourth option is to straighten the legs, finding our breath here. Nice, strong core. We might notice we're shaking, but this is normal. We'll take one last breath and exhale to release, planting the feet and just wrapping our hands around the knees, giving ourselves a hug, releasing here. And then we're going to come onto our bum, extending the left leg out nice, or the right leg out nice and long. We're going to bring the left foot to the inside of our right leg, squaring the chest over that extended leg. We're going to inhale the hands up towards the sky and exhale, hinge at the hips to forward fold in head to knee pose. We want to keep our right foot flexing towards the face, nice and engaged, protecting our knee. And as we fold over with every exhale, we want to try to fold a little deeper. So this pose is great for the lower back, especially if we spend a lot of our days sitting and working at a computer. So this is going to relieve any tension in the low back. And just at the same time, stretch the back of that right leg. So with our next inhale, we'll walk the hands back towards the body and switch to the other side. So extend the left leg out nice and long. Right foot comes to the inside of our left thigh. We'll square the chest over the extended leg. Inhale the arms up and exhale, fold, bringing the forehead to the knee. Walking the hands forward. Remember to keep that left foot flexed. We want to keep it engaged. And just find our breath, breathing into the lower back. And as we exhale, folding just a little deeper. Just beginning to slow down our practice now. And whenever we're ready, we'll walk our hands back towards the body. We're going to find a seated forward fold, bringing the legs together and extending them out nice and long. We'll inhale the hands up and exhale, hinge at the hips and forward fold. Either walking the hands alongside the outsides of the feet, we can grab the ankles, the bottoms of the feet, or bring our peace fingers around the big toes. And again, with every exhale, we're folding just a little deeper. So this stretch is perfect for the full back body. We stretch out the ankles, the calves, the thighs, the hips, the lower back, the shoulders, even the neck. So this is really important fundamental pose in our yoga practice. We'll just take a few more breaths here. Wherever we are in this pose, maybe we're still planted into our hands a little bit. Just nice deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, walk the hands back towards the body. We're going to bring the knees into the chest and allow the knees to fall out to opposite sides with the bottoms of the feet to touch. Wrapping our hands around the feet, we're just going to pulse the knees up and down for our butterfly pose. So this is just releasing the hips, creating some space in our hips if we're feeling tight. And we'll do that one more time, then come to stillness and find a fold here. So keeping our hands interlaced around the feet, we'll inhale with a tall spine and exhale, fold, using the elbows to press into the thighs and open just a little deeper. Last breath in. And exhale, coming out, will help the knees back in together and just windshield wash the knees back and forth, side to side, just to release those poses. And whenever you are ready, keeping the feet planted onto the mat, we're going to begin to lower down nice and slow with control onto the back. Bring your arms out to the sides in a cactus pose. We're going to shift the hips over to the right side and allow the knees to fall to the left in a supine twist. The gaze is coming over that right shoulder, and we want to just make sure that our shoulders are staying grounded to the mat. We'll find a few breaths here, releasing the spine, releasing the hips. With our next inhale, coming back to center, readjusting the spine, we'll shift the hips to the left side of our mat, and with an exhale, allow the knees to fall to the right. The gaze comes over that left shoulder if it feels okay for the neck. And we'll find a few breaths here in our supine twist. Taking one last breath. And then we'll release, coming to center. We're going to bring our knees into the chest, big toes to touch, and either reach for the calves, the shins, the ankles, or we could reach for the insides of the feet. We're going to come into happy baby. So bending throughout the knees, we're going to pull on the knees down towards the earth into the armpits as we kick the feet into the sky in the opposite direction, finding that resistance in the hips and opening. And we have the option here to rock side to side, but just please remember that we have to keep our lower spine connected to the earth. We'll find a few breaths here, just releasing the low back, releasing the hips. And finding stillness. We're going to release, bringing the knees into the chest, wrapping our hands around the shins, finding a gentle rock side to side, and giving ourselves a big hug, thanking ourselves for rolling out our mat today. And whenever you're ready, we're going to release the feet down the length of the mat for our closing Shavasana. So our feet are going to fall open how they naturally fall, and just take this moment to feel all the effects of your yoga practice. Take this moment to come back to that natural breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Taking our last few moments of our class for relaxation and for stillness. Softening the face and clenching the jaw and allowing the tongue to fall from the roof of the mouth. I just want to take this time to thank you for watching this video, for practicing with me. And if you did enjoy this, please press the like and subscribe button for more content from me. And just a reminder, you can stay here in your Shavasana for however long you need today. Just taking this moment to end our practice, to take a moment of rest. And if you are ready to end practice, we could begin to wiggle the toes, the fingers, and sweep the hands up overhead while pointing the toes in the opposite direction for a full body stretch. We'll bring the knees into the chest, wrapping our hands around the shins, rocking side to side. Before bringing the arms behind the thighs and rolling up and down the length of the mat 3 to 5 times, just massaging the full length of our spine here. And when you're ready, rolling up and over into that easy seated position, that cross-leg position or Sukhasana. And we're going to take a few breaths here as a community, inhaling the arms up and exhale, hands to heart center. We'll inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky, and exhale, hands to heart center. We'll inhale, reach the fingertips up nice and high, and exhale, bow down. So thank you for joining me. May the sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the light within you guide you on. Namaste.